Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS to rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of the video is Global News Highlights. Right? And we're back in this deep seek, right? This artificial intelligence source, something like ChatGPT. And I asked it, what is the major news worldwide in the past 24 hours? It's kind of like Google, and it gives you a few points of key events that has happened, So let me grab this scripture and we'll get into it because all these things that are happening now are, pointing toward the end. And they've been pointing towards the end, but things are intensifying here in these last days. Esau even has to move with great wrath because he knows he have but a short time, and that's what we're seeing happening. It says Ezekiel 7:1. Moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto the land of Israel, and the end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now, we're in the part of the prophecies where Israel is reaching the end of their judgment, right? Pursuant to Lamentations 4 and verse 20. Right, you go down to Lamentations 4 and 20, and actually 21 and 22, Lamentations 4, 21 and 22, it goes to the fact that Esau, his judgment is here. Right, another scripture, grab that. Well, I'll just read this one. This is Lamentations 4 and 21. It says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwells in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. It says, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So now we're in the sentencing, stages of Esau Edom. That's why we see many judgments taking place in these last days. So Ezekiel 73, it said, now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. Said mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. Right, ultimately Babylon the Great, America will be totally destroyed with nuclear bombs, right? ICBMs carrying nuclear warheads will be sent to Israel and America, and they will be totally destroyed. So that's why there's no sparing, old or young, right? Verse 5, Ezekiel 75, it says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come, and end is come, the end is come, it watches for thee, behold, it is come. So that's the time we're living in. We're living in the end, right? In the end of an age, right? The end of the rulership of Esau, even the so-called white man. So going into this news here, we have 6 points. Get the first point here. It says escalating Israel-Iran conflict. It says intensified strikes. Israel and Iran continue exchanging heavy attacks, with Israel targeting Tehran's Fordow nuclear facility, triggering a 2.5 magnitude earthquake nearby. Iran warned of irreparable damage if the U.S. intervenes, right? And that's pretty much what's happening with this escalation, right? And it actually goes into it a little bit down here. That actually that's the second subpoint. I read it. It says U.S. role. President Trump hinted at potential military action, but avoided specifics, stating nobody knows what I'm going to do. The U.S. is arranging evacuation flights for Americans in Israel, right? And basically, America is going to be dragged into the war, right? They're going to help. They're going to help Israel, right? So Iran is going to, attack. They're going to go to war. World War III is before us. That's exactly what's going to happen, right? They're pretty much kicking the can down the road. playing games, It says over four human toll over 400 ballistic missiles and 1,000 drones launched by Iran since Friday, with 24 killed in Israel. Tehran faces internet blackouts and mass evacuations. Right. So basically, what Iran is doing is hitting key areas, key points. You know, so that's what they're all the podcast guys, the military, the old retired military generals and things like that. They're saying Iran is using precision. When they're striking. That's why it's not many killed in Israel because they're attacking, I guess, like buildings, like the Secret Service buildings, like the CIA and things like that, Mossad, all those different things. So that's that. Point 2 says Gaza humanitarian crisis. Right, again with Israel not allowing aid to the Palestinians there. Right, they're still pursuing this greater Israel dream. Right, they don't want anyone in those lands, and that's now why they're attacking Iran also. Right, for the greater Israel plan. So it says aid-related deaths. Israeli forces killed 140 Palestinians in 24 hours, including 40 near aid distribution sites. The UN condemned the disgraceful aid system, citing 397 aid seekers killed since May. Right, and that's why the description goes into how long to him that increases that which is not his, because that's exactly what's happening. You have Israel trying to kill off individuals over that area, while you have the nations trying to help the people there, and then they themselves are getting killed. The aid workers that they're sending, they're also dying. It says subsection 2, starvation risk. The World Food Program warned of famine, with crowds risking lives to intercept food convoy. One resident lamented, "Whoever doesn't die from bombs dies from hunger." Yeah, and that's scripture. Because the sword of the Lord is the Edomites, right? And these nations had a play in attacking the Israelites, right? When we, was going through what we were going through, not eating, rape, robbed, and murdered, and all of that. Let's grab these precepts here. This second Esdras, and on it. Bear with me. Those that escape the hunger. So I could just bear with me. I want to find this. Pretty sure it's right over here where I'm looking at. Yeah, okay. So second Esdras 16. Now, I'll start at 19. So this is actually I just started 17. This is second Esdras chapter 16 or 17. It says, woe is me, who would deliver me in those days? It's at the beginning of sorrows and great mourning. It's the beginning of famine and great death. The beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges, right? And that's what we're going into, because the Lord is visiting the planet Earth, right, in these different nations. The scriptures talk about miserable, are the cities that had a part, in your downfall, roughly paraphrasing. And that's the downfall of the Israelites. All right, so now judgment has come, right? It says, verse 21, behold, visual shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evil grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. See, and that's the point I wanted to grab with this quote that the guy said. You know, I'll read it again. He says, whoever doesn't die from bombs die from hunger. You know, he kind of did it backwards, but it's the same thing, you know. So anyway, that was going to point 3 now. It says Russia-Ukraine war. Key bombardment. A massive Russian attack using 440 drones and 32 missiles killed 15 and injured 116 in Kiev, including a U.S. citizen. Ukraine accused Russia of prolonging the war deliberately. Right, and I don't know exactly what this guy Zelensky is talking about prolonging the war. You know, I don't know what he's saying when he says that. You know, he's saying that Russia is prolonging the war on purpose. So I don't know if he's saying Russia is holding back the attacks that they're doing or what. I don't know. You know. So it says U.S. sanctions, new measures imposed as peace talks stall. Yeah, you know, there's no peace and safety. You know, as always. Let me grab it. First Thessalonians 5:3. They're gonna keep trying to get these peace talks to, you know, stop what's happening, but it can't be stopped. It's the prophecy of the Lord Yahweh. First Thessalonians 5:3 says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as to dwell upon one more child, and they shall not escape. Right, and that's pretty much been happening. You know, with all these peace and safety talks, every time something happens right after, you know. And even now, Donald Trump, being the head guy trying to make peace and safety, he says he's going to stop all war in 24 hours. You know, brings all type of, you know, cheap gas, all type of shit. None of that's happening. We're about to get into it actually right now, where the gas price is about to shoot up because of the Iran war. You know, so Trump is a big fat liar, right? So point 4, India-Pakistan tensions. It says Trump claimed credit for mediating a ceasefire, but India's PM Modi denied U.S. involvement. Now this is interesting, right? Because India is supposed to be Trump's right-hand guy now, right? Because it was China, but now they're trying to move to India. Now India is saying that's not true. You know, bucking up against his master, basically. India bucking up against his master. Hey, that's the weak saying I am strong. That's good. They're divided, and the weak saying I am strong. You know, bucking up against America. You know, because what? You know, America so far had a lot of these dudes in the White House, cameras everywhere, asking crazy questions. You know, had them looking all crazy. You know, but now the cameras is gone. They talking shit. This is Joel 3:9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say, I am strong. Right, so all these nations pretty much have been weak compared to America, but now they're willing to speak up against America. So it says, India-Pakistan tensions, Trump claimed credit for mediating a ceasefire, but India's PM Modi denied U.S. involvement, stating the truce resulted from direct military talks. So it said we pretty much figured this shit out between ourselves, and Trump did nothing. G7 summit. It says focus shifted to Middle East tensions after Trump left early. PM Modi attended, emphasizing India's role in stability. Yeah, all focus is going to be over in the Middle East because that's where we're going to go down. Right, we got 0.5 of this high gas now. It says market volatility. Trump's Iran threats spiked the VIX fear index by 9% with oil prices surging to 74 barrels. The Fed held interest rates steady amid uncertainty. All right, so I looked that up. The VIX fear index says VIX is the ticker symbol and popular name for the Chicago Board Options Exchange volatility index, a popular measure of the stock market's expectation of volatility. So yeah, when Trump said that thing, it jumped up. it started going crazy. They don't, and basically now the oil is surging to $74 a barrel, and it's going to continue to surge because I read earlier, let's get it. It says U.S. role. President Trump hinted at potential military action, but avoided specifics, stating nobody knows what I'm going to do. So he's going to go to war, and that oil price is going to skyrocket. All right. So we got climate disasters. It says China floods. Guangdong province saw streets turn into canals after a river overflowed. And then we have Indonesia volcano, Mount Litobi Laki erupted again, forcing evacuations. Right, I got some precepts on that. This is Psalms 83 and 13. It says, "Oh my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempests and make them afraid with thy storms." Right, that's pretty much what's happening. Most High Yahweh sending storm, tempest, erupting volcanoes over there on these people, judgment. This is Isaiah 29 and 6. It says, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua of hosts, with thunder and with earthquake and with great noise and with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. Right? So that's the Lord visiting this place. Let me grab this Amos. Do this. Let's see. Back. Amos 3. I want to grab this Amos 3 and 6. It says, "Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord Yahweh have not done it?" And that's the point. The Lord Yahweh is visiting this place, and he's causing these things to happen. Right? His name is Yahweh. Right? So anyway, this is point 6, the last point here. It says Air India crash aftermath. So they're still, talking about this plane and what's happening with it. It says death toll rose to 270. Safety inspections caused flight disruption. All right, so I might click on that. I don't know what they mean by that. It says safety inspections caused flight disruptions. Okay, so I guess they're trying to be more safe with these flights, and it's causing a slowdown. So political violence. It says Kenya police shot a protester at close range during the demonstrations, and then it says a mayor and her husband were killed basically in a city in Mexico. Right, I got the city here because I cannot pronounce it. Here it is. Michoacan, right? That's the city. And yeah, this is upwards of the people in sedition. This is upwards of the people in sedition. So I'm gonna grab that. And I'll read it again. All right. This is again, it says political violence, Kenya. Police shot a protester at close range during demonstrations. So, so people are what? You get the scripture out, I would always get. Second Edges 9. It says, second Edges 9 and 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that at the very same time wherein the highest began to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. See, so we have these upwards of the people, right? Let me get this other one here. 21. All right, so it's like I'm not gonna grab this. All right, so going back to the second Edges 15 here, read it again here. It says Kenya police shot a protester at close range during demonstrations, and then Mexico, a mayor and her husband were killed, right? In a city in Mexico. This is second headshot 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that build the ring, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. See, sedition among men, uprising against the government, and also, you know, attacking, government and all that. That's the spirit that's now in the earth, right? I got back to it. So that's pretty much it. That's all the points for today. You can see. So this is Luke 21 and 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves going. Let's get this word perplexity. It says, it says the state of one who is in perplexity, right? It's basically like confusion. Let's see if Google got something for me. It says inability to deal with or understand something complicated or unacceptable. Yeah, because what the things that are about to take place on Earth is going to be, something heavy for people that don't have the understanding or knowledge. The scriptures say, "Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times," right? So Luke 21 and 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things that are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Right? So that's the time we're living in. So that's been a lesson. Lord willing, we're edified from the lesson. Shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.